Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
And I'm saying this to all of us. Our people are ready to spend their money with their own. There's no time better than this for 6 or 8 of you to pool your money and look in the community and open up a store to fulfill the needs of our people, and we will support you. It's your time now. That's being a man. Supporting your own people that are in business. Going into business yourself. Think out of the box. What can you create that will put black people to work?
Assalamu alaikum, family, and welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. And today is episode 13 of the Proper Handling of People series. We're going to cover, inshallah, chapters 13 and 14 today. And then next week, episode 14, we'll just have one chapter left. And if you all want, we can do a Q&A the following week or just move on to our next subject. So welcome everyone in the chat. I see you all. Good morning, Mother. Wa alaikum salam, Brother Victor. Welcome. Wa alaikum salam, peace and love from Detroit. All right. I see some of y'all shy today. I see a lot of y'all in here. You know what's so funny? YouTube is hilarious. We had such a beautiful show on Thursday with Sister Keisha, and we were talking about skincare. If you missed it, you should go back and check it out. It was just really a rich discussion. And even if you don't care about your skin, I think just some of these lively discussions around these businesses are really, really inspirational. And Sister Keisha was very inspirational, and she was very good and very thorough. But YouTube said there was only 2 people watching, which is hilarious because you guys were popping in the chat. There were a bunch of you all. And then previous to them saying that there was 2, they said there was 146. And I think now they may have gotten the number right, but you can't never trust this stuff. Before we jump into episode 13, I want to encourage us to learn and focus on how to be intentionally happy, right? A lot of us know how to be an intentional jerk. Some of us know how to be intentionally mean. Some of us know how to be intentionally hardcore and serious, but the highest vibration is for us to focus on being intentionally happy, because how you feel determines what experience you have and what you attract to yourself. But I'm going to tell you what happens to us. And I see this so much. You know, people are always talking. People always got something to say, right? And they're always talking about your business within the context of what they would do if they were you, okay? And so what happens a lot of times, we then allow their gossip, their backbiting, that little jealousy and envy, because no matter how much you try to use deceptive intelligence to say that that's not jealous and envy, it really is, okay? So what we tend to do is we allow someone else to create the condition that we then respond out of. So in other words, if people are talking about you saying, well, I wouldn't do that if I was her, or I wouldn't go there if I was him, and just constantly having those kind of conversations within the context of them discussing your business based on what they would do with their limited knowledge, with what they don't know, not knowing about your situation, not even knowing what your mission is, and not even having a mission themselves, right? Just wanting, being covetous, then that creates a condition, okay? And then oftentimes we start to make plans and make moves based on what they are thinking about what it is that we do. And then next thing you know, you're off by a degree or 2 because you're so busy worried about what they're saying about you or what they're going to say about you. But not only are you worried about it, that becomes the conditions from which you make your decisions. That's a huge mistake. So what I'm encouraging us to do is to be intentionally happy. What does that mean? You set your goals. You create your own things that are important to you. And you may have to incorporate some other people's stuff in it, especially if they're part of your family, your decision making. That you may have to do that. But make a decision and be intentional to be happy. And happiness, not saying, well, I'll be real happy once I get that job paying, $220,000 a year. Or I'm gonna be real happy once I win the lottery, or I'm gonna be real happy once I get this new car, or I'm gonna be real happy as soon as I get a mate. Not conditional happiness. Okay, conditional happiness is always fleeting, because while those things make you happy, we're not talking about conditional happiness. I'm talking about happiness where you just decide based on appreciation. And I'm switching that word up a little bit, because gratitude is one thing, and gratitude has begun to take on a certain commercial significance or certain commercial tone that I think sometimes we miss the value of it. So, appreciation, where you genuinely appreciate something. You genuinely appreciate waking up this morning. You genuinely appreciate the skin that you're in. I genuinely appreciate who I am. I am genuinely appreciative of Allah for navigating me through life that has created me to be this person that I am. I'm genuinely appreciative of that. And that appreciation makes me happy, because I know that every phase of what I go through is making me out to be something better and bigger and closer and more aligned with Him. So my happiness is in that. And so in that, in those little offshoots of just, and I'm not just talking about being slapstick and silly and trying to tell jokes all the time. I'm talking about being intentionally appreciative of where you are. And I'm not talking about making up problems and being appreciative for stuff that ain't never happened. I'm talking about solidly appreciative of where you are, and be intentional about it, so that every single day you control the condition. So when you walk into a room, your goals, your desires, your level of appreciation creates a certain energy and a certain vibration that precedes you as you walk into a room. It walks in before you do, and it's there when you leave. That's what I'm talking about. That way, when those people who think maybe you shouldn't have what you have, think you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, got an issue with you because they really got an issue with themselves, they don't create the condition in your life. That is the key way to give away your power. Because if all of a sudden my thoughts are surrounded by what you think, and you really aren't even contributing to my life in terms of, what it is that I have to do, then now I'm off. But if my decisions are being made based on my goals, what I appreciate, where I see myself going, what I'm receiving in prayer and meditation, now I'm in my right frequency. Okay? So let's be intentional about being happy. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes we intentionally have an attitude. We know how to intentionally be mad. We know how to intentionally act ugly. We know how to intentionally do whatever it is, be elusive, whatever. Be intentionally happy. And when you're intentionally happy, you will ignore stuff that's just irrelevant, because you don't want nobody messing up your high. All right, y'all. I see a few more of you all have joined. I see Leonard DeYuta said 100%. I see Sister Amina Muhammad says, ASA, watching you with you on this Saturday morning as I'm enjoying blessed Ramadan. Okay, yes, praise be to Allah. You got Brother Victor saying authentically happy. Sister Sandra D is in the house. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Alita, morning blessings. Assalamu alaikum, sis. You got Mrs. Phoenix 91. Wa alaikum salam from Toledo, Ohio. And let's see, I think I announced you all. Okay, let's jump into the proper handling of people. In chapter 13, we're going to talk about leadership qualities, and then we're going to talk about the road to constructive leadership. And then we'll go into chapter 14, where he goes into rules for making your home life happier, rules for overcoming worry, and techniques in analyzing worry and how to break the worry habit. Okay, that's a big discussion, but we're going to talk about that. I used to always have this, I used to do this course once a month about worrying. One of the things I always say is don't worry. You don't even know enough to be worried because something can always happen that you know nothing about. I'm going to say it again so you all can type it in the chat. You don't know enough to be worried because something can always happen that you know nothing about. One more time. You and I, we don't know enough to be worried. Something can always happen that we know nothing about. See, a lot of times we worry because we take a situation and we boil it down to one choice or two choices or one or two outcomes. And it's got to be this. Not because I don't know, but because I heard it from somewhere else, or I'm just limited in my choices or my options. You don't know enough to be worried. Something can always happen that you know nothing about. But guess what? You can't receive the benefit of that something happening that you knew nothing about if you're closed off because you're so focused on these one or two outcomes. So we'll get into that. All right, let's talk about leadership qualities. The proper handling of people was given to the believers in the mosque in the late 1960s, mid 1960s, late 1964 to be exact. And it was given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as training for leadership in the mosque. And what we've done here with this series is we've taken this training and applied it to our businesses and to our conduct. And it's so important that you have principles and a platform for which you operate, because that'll keep you from going scorched earth on somebody who don't deserve it, or to keep you from going scorched earth on somebody even if they do deserve it. You got to have a foundation. So let's talk about the 7 qualities of leadership that was introduced in this document by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was in Muhammad Speaks, I believe, at one point. Number 1, initiative. A leader always knows how to take initiative. A leader is not that person who sits back and say, well, what they need to do, what she really should be doing, what he should have did was. No, the leader takes initiative and says, I'm going to step out. The only way you know whether or not you're right is if you step out and take action. It takes motion to create things. Okay. Number 2 is determination. One thing about me, you all know, I'm going to take the initiative and I'm going to be determined. Determination. Leaders are determined. So circumstances happen around them, and a leader says, I'm not going to worry. I don't know enough to be worried. Something can always happen that I know nothing about. Let me have the audacity to hope for something better, to work for something better. Let me take the initiative to put together a new plan, to step up and just be curious. Number 3, the third quality of leadership is courage. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do big projects. It takes a lot of courage to step out. You know, one of the enemies of triumph, if you will, is just not having courage, just being afraid, just worried about being comfortable and safe all the time. You got to have courage. You can't say you believe and then not have courage. You can't say you believe, but then you won't step out there. You just want to stay in your little safety zone. Where's your courage? Where's your belief? Where's your initiative? A good leader is intelligent. But yeah. Intelligence. Being able to critically think, being able to have a level of discernment. A good leader has a measure of aggressiveness, because you got to get in there and be aggressive and assertive sometimes to get things done. And a good leader has integrity. We talk often on this show about granular levels of morality, meaning who are you when nobody is looking? What do? Do you lie to yourself? Do you tell yourself, I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to do such and such. I'm getting up at 5 tomorrow and I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do some push-ups. You lie to yourself? Where's your integrity? Because if you don't have integrity with yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to exercise integrity with others. And number 7, that leader is self-confident, has self-confidence. If you don't believe in yourself, I don't know who else you expect to believe in yourself. All right. So I'm going to read the 5 points that he has here for constructive leadership. And as I'm reading it, I'm going to kind of translate it into business language because it's in Moss language. I'll make those translations because what we want to do is make sure that we're learning how to take the principles from which we have been taught to live our lives and move them over into the business world. Why? Because a lot of people try to remove any sign of spirituality from their business. They try to, it's very common for people to be one way at home and another way at work. A lot of people practice business in a manner that is not reflective of their spirituality or their religion. And so we're trying to close that gap. Okay. Number 1, the road to constructive leadership. Y'all all right on here? I see you, Regional Sky Girl. You just got here. Brother Lamont, I see you. I see y'all. All right. Number 1, respect the personal integrity of the people you lead. I have met so many leaders who don't even like the people that they lead. They've been put in a position, whether it's a manager or some form of supervisor, or maybe even as a business owner, and they don't even like their staff. Remember, each person is a worthwhile individual in his or her own right. The fact that one person is homelier or less able than another doesn't make him or her less of a person. Y'all hear that, right? Here's number 2. Help your people develop their talent and abilities. This is one thing I love doing. I love working with people to help them to develop and monetize their abilities. I love working with friends to help them to enhance what I see is an ability in him. If you know me and you talk to me on a long term or a short period of time, I'm going to be trying to help push you to advance your abilities. Everyone has a greater potential than he or she ever realizes. So in most of us, there's that dormant potential that's laying in us, and we just need the courage to move forward. It's just a matter of degree. So by encouraging your people to further their education, further their training, to just step out, you will increase not only their satisfaction, but their accomplishments as well. Okay. And this should cover, the messenger says here, this covers both their in-mosque activities and outside interests. And I would say to you as a business person, this should cover both their endeavors within the company and their endeavors outside of the company. Be an overall genuine leader who encourages them to advance their abilities. Okay. Number 3, help them to advance in the company. Here he says, help them to advance in the mosque. So help them to advance in the company. You accomplish this not only by your own training efforts, okay, so setting up training opportunities, but by setting up objectives for their efforts. So give them goals, help them with things that they should be focused on. He gives an example here. He says, when you tell a brother, Brother John, I feel with a little more study and effort, you'll qualify for the next grade in this classification. You're setting up a tempting target he or she is not likely to overlook. So when you encourage someone and you show them what they need to do to get to that next level, that's valuable. Because you know what happens so much in corporate is no one tells you how to get to that next level. And what happens so often in business, you can spend thousands of dollars going to conferences, talking to coach, consultant. You can get a mentor. You can sit at the feet of a person who's become a millionaire or billionaire, and they will not tell you how to get where they are. They'll just sit there and tell you about what they did, and maybe they'll tell you about what they got, but they won't say to you, you know what? Based on what I see in you, this is what I think you need to do. And they may not tell you because maybe they can't do it, but this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And one of the real reasons why I do this show and why I give away this free game is because for so many years, I would just meet with people and talk to people, but people don't want to give you the game because we've been taught, don't give away the game. I'm going to tell you, give away the game. You could charge for your services. All right. Okay, here's number 4. Wield your people into a group. Besides the personal relationship between you and the individual, you strive to create group feeling. This attitude the individual develops as a group member. So there's group think and there's a group emotion. And so what you want to do is make sure that you're conscious of that collective emotion that exists within your organization. Okay. You want to encourage people to move as a unit. You want to create a strategic unit that understands the goals and objectives of the organizations and they move as one. And in order to do that, you got to get in there and understand what your corporate culture is, what the collective illusions are within your organization, and what are the collective realities. And number 5, make it possible for your people to contribute their ideas. Don't make it a dictatorship. Don't make it your fiefdom. Let people speak. Let people give you their ideas. Your employees are going to tell you and give you feedback that you may not get otherwise. Because a lot of times something might be wrong with your business or not quite right, and nobody will say anything, right? It's like having a booger on your nose, excuse my language, and nobody says anything to you. That person ain't your friend if they're going to stand there and watch you talk with something on your nose. Okay. So you want to invite suggestions. You want to encourage people to give you feedback. You want to have that possibility with your team. And one thing that I do is, because a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with us, people always got something to say. Well, what I think you should do is this, and what I think you should do is that. Sometimes when you value that person in your organization, you can let them in on the strategy as to why you're doing certain things. That way, they're just not bumping their gums and out here not considering all the factors involved. You're also helping them to be a better decision maker. So while they're making a decision and they're gossiping or talking based upon the capacity of their intellectual capacity, I'll say. So they're talking based upon their intellectual capacity and the limited information that they have. You're making a set of decisions based on information that you have that they may not be privy to. Okay. So sometimes what you want to do with your staff is help them to see, okay, we made this decision because we have to think about our vendor costs. We have to think about what we want to do next. What's our next future? What's going to position us properly? We're thinking about, all of these different things. So you want to help them sometimes become broader and more effective thinkers. Okay. All right. Now let's go into chapter 14. Rules for making your home life happier. Okay. And I'm sure this was covered because a lot of people bring their drama from home to work, or in this case, to the mosque. And so what we want to do is give people some tips so that they can, this is going to be a funny list, so that they can go about the business of really being a full person. You should care about the home life of your employees. Now, you don't have to own their problems or take on the problems, but you should care about it. Okay? There's 7 of these. Number 1, don't nag. Don't be a nagger. Okay? Some people just like to nag. They just like to say something. Number 2, don't try to make your partner over. So in other words, don't get with somebody and then try to make them a new person and then be mad at them because you can't make them a new person. Don't be overly critical. Give your honest appreciation. We talked about that early. Pay attention. Be courteous. And then number 7, he said, read a good book on the sexual side of marriage. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know what the messenger was thinking about there, but I know that's very powerful. And it's important, right? It's an important form of expression when we're in that type of relationship, right? And it's something that we should make sure that we're clear on and we understand. All right. Here's the rules for overcoming worry. Again, let me go back to my statement. You don't know enough, or we don't know enough to worry. Something can always happen that we know nothing about. Okay. The first one he says to overcome worry is live in day tight compartments. And I took this to mean about compartmentalizing things. Because I think sometimes what happens is that we may have something that goes wrong over here. Then we start to focus on what's wrong everywhere. And that can be a problem, right? You could be talking to somebody and they'll tell you something that happened at work. Then they start talking about what happened with their child, what happened with their parents, what happened with their spouse. And they just went from one wrong to the other. Again, you got to stop worrying because we don't know enough to worry. Something can always happen that we know nothing about. We have to know how to face our troubles. That's number 2. He said, always ask yourself, what is the worst that can possibly happen? We have an exercise that I learned when I went for my training as a certified emotional intelligence coach, is how you deal with the emotions around worrying. So let's say you're dealing with something and it's troubling you. Okay. Trouble can be whatever you define it as. It's just something that's worrying you, right? Or just troubling you. Then you go down the set of emotions and you ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? And you make a list of all the things that could happen if this thing you're fearing comes to pass. And then you sit with the emotion of each option that you've listed. And what that teaches you to do is to navigate through those emotions so that you can think. Because again, remember, there's always a solution. But a lot of times we can't get to the solution because we're not prepared, right? We're not prepared to improve. We're not prepared to accept. We're just not prepared emotionally. And then we end up just having a nervous breakdown if something happened. But if we had just kind of been thinking through all these different options, sometimes when you recognize that emotion and that fear, you know what happens? Your subconscious mind comes up with a solution because it doesn't want to experience that emotion. Right? All right. Number 3, remind yourself of the exorbitant price you can pay for worry in terms of your health. And we've talked about this on the show. Worrying oftentimes sends us into fight or flight. And for many of us as Black people, as people who are constantly dealing with the effects of trauma in America, and you can't even live in America and not be suffering from PTSD because there's just trauma. The country was built on trauma, and there's just always trauma happening. Either it happened in the past, or it happened yesterday, or it's just now happening, or it's about to happen. But the danger in that, you don't figure out how to take your mind somewhere else. You're always in fight or flight. When you go into fight or flight, your body is preparing itself to flee, or fight. So your muscles tense and the blood that is circulating through your body is redirected from your organs to your muscles. So your muscles are going to get a little bit bigger so you can run, so you can jump, so you can fight. Even the blood that goes to your brain is redirected even to your heart so that you can get up out of there if you need extra energy. But this is not a state that we're meant to live in on a long-term basis. What happens when we live in that state for a long-term basis? This is why a lot of times when stuff happens, you can't think straight because you're losing blood flow, and that's how your body is designed. But you're not supposed to stay like that. This is why our organs fail. We have brain fog, kidneys fail, livers fail, because it's not getting the adequate amount of blood supply because we're always scared. We're scared of everything. We're scared of a car going down the street too fast. We're scared of a dog barking outside. We're scared all the time. And in that scared state, and even if you don't really want to acknowledge that you're scared all the time, even if you're always over focused on being safe. See, you got to already know that God desires your safety. So if you're constantly restricting and living a life of subtraction, that's a fear-based life. No, oh shoot, no, let me stay on this little platform. Let me stay safe. Well, what are you doing? You're keeping yourself in that perpetual state of fight or flight. Okay. The next thing he says is techniques in analyzing worry. Number one, get all the facts. If you know anything about me, you know that when you bring something to me, I'm going to be flipping it over and trying to see what's up. I'm going to get all the facts. I'm really good at critical thinking. I'm good at deductive reasoning. I'm good at gathering the facts, looking at all the options, and then making a decision based upon that. So that's how you're going to analyze what you're worrying about. You want to get the facts. And when you get the facts, you sit with each fact and you pay attention to how that fact makes you feel. And even if you don't do anything about it, you're just acknowledging the feeling that those facts conjured up. That's going to help you make a better decision. Number two, once you get those facts, you want to weigh all those facts, then come to a decision. Once a decision is reached, then you want to act. A lot of times people get the facts, they reach a decision, and they say, this is what I pretty much think I need to do. But they don't do it. They just kind of sit there. And I know I've been there. Sometimes you just kind of get a little sad and you're like, man, I don't want to do none of this, but you got to do it. And usually when it's God pushing you to do something, there's something better on the other end. Okay. They say that old age is the quest for comfort because people are always running away from things that make them uncomfortable, running away from pain. And many times you got to go through the pain to give birth to what you've been impregnated with, whether that's an idea, a child, right? A business, a piece of art, a book that you're writing, an opportunity, something. God deposited something in you. And now in order to get it out, you're going to have to go through some pain. You got to go through some labor pain to get it out. We ought to do a whole show on that. Okay, then number 4, he says, write out and answer the following questions. What is the problem? What are the causes of the problem? What are all possible solutions? And what is the best solution? I've done shows before on problem solving. You can go back through the history. I think this was when I was on radio in DC. We did a series on problem solving. You can find those on Spotify. I think they're out there. But yeah, problem solving. What is the problem? What are the causes of the problem? What are all possibilities and solutions? And what is the best solution? Okay. And the last section in this is how to break the habit of worrying. Some of us just have a habit of worrying. We're not comfortable if we're not worrying. Some of us, you could tell us to go meditate and clear our mind. We will get up off that meditation mat or that prayer rug and we'll go right back to worrying. We'll say out of our mouth that God got me and he loves me and he's prepared a table and God works with me, but we'll go right back to worrying. And what we do is we use deceptive intelligence. We disguise it. So instead of maybe worrying amongst ourselves, we'll get on the phone with somebody and gossip about something or talk about that thing over and over again. And we'll just keep repeating it. Where what we're doing is we're really worrying, but we don't want to admit that we're worrying. It's a habit. Okay. Once you're done with it, you're over it, then you're done with it. You don't have to have no more conversation about it. Once you make that decision. So how to break the worry habit? If you are one that, for me, if I have something that comes in my mind that I find myself rolling over and over again, I say, okay, I'm worrying. I generally go to meditation first. I say prayers and then I go to meditation. And in that meditation, I just let it pass. I let it materialize and pass. And I'm just dealing with it. And then if I find that it keeps coming back, I keep returning to my prayer and meditation, but I like to use these other techniques that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put up here as well, and keeping busy. So oftentimes if somebody passes away and you are just kind of feeling that you're missing them and you sit down and you pray and you meditate and you do your prayers as the messenger teaches us, and then you can't shake it. Sometimes it's good to take your mind off of it and keep yourself busy. And don't fuss. Don't be fussy. Okay. Use the law of averages to outlaw your worries. That's kind of sort of what I was getting at when I said you don't know enough to worry. Something can always happen that you know nothing about. But then there's also the law of averages. Like, what's the chances? What are the chances? That's like a person who gets nervous every time a car drives down the street and they say, oh, I'm just so afraid that car is going to run into my house. Okay, well, what are the chances? What are the law of averages that your fear is going to come true? And even if you narrow it down, you got to still keep that glimmer of hope open. I don't know enough to worry. Something can always happen that I know nothing about. So you can't say you believe in miracles, you expect a miracle and you want a miracle, but you don't move like you know miracles are possible. You don't move like you deserve a miracle. You move like you deserve something bad to happen to you, or almost like you want it to happen. Okay? He also says you have to learn how to cooperate with the inevitable. So you might be in a position where you're dealing with somebody who it might be inevitable that they're going to leave, or it might be inevitable that they're just not going to be able to do a good job. It might be inevitable that they're going to resign. Well, what do? You cooperate with that. You figure that out. You figure out what's your strategy in the event that this person does leave the company. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? What's the plan? Then he says, decide just how much anxiety a thing may be worth and refuse to give it more. That's one of my favorite out of this whole list. Decide just how much anxiety a thing may be worth and then refuse to give it more. Have you ever talked to somebody and they're giving all this emotion and anxiety to something that's really small? And you find yourself going, is that really that big of a deal? It happens all the time. Reason why we're prone to that is because we live in this pop culture, social media world, and some small thing can become that clickbait that gets somebody a lot of attention and a lot of likes. And so they will keep regurgitating that little small thing over and over and over again. And next thing you know, you find yourself mirroring that pattern of thinking. This is why it's good to design and be an architect of how you think. And then number 6, he says, stop, don't worry about the past. You want to stop worrying about the past because what's done is done. It's already happened. And if you need to forgive yourself, if you need to atone, you need to go work on that, but you got to move around it. Everybody got a past. Nobody's better than the other. Even though it might be somebody that you don't see what's going on in their past, they got skeletons. Everybody got them. Everybody, because if that was the case, if you didn't have skeletons, if you didn't have a past, then there'd be no reason for God to even come in the first place. Because if there's enough perfect people out there, then Jesus ain't got to come back. God ain't got to show up. You ain't got to pray. It's already done. So there's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. Always room to continue to grow and to develop. All right, let me see what y'all saying over here in the chat. I see Brother Ronald said a competency model will drive everything from selection and development to succession and performance. Overcome fear through prayer to activate ease of failure. Yes, the challenge with that, Brother Ronald, is that a lot of people's prayers are fear-based. So their conversations with God are all based on their fears. And don't get me wrong, I've been in a position before. I'm in positions often where I'll say to God, I'll say to Allah, I'm really afraid about this. But I make sure I'm intentional about going from acknowledging my fear to him to moving into appreciation. And then the appreciation then starts to help to dissolve some of the fear. So a lot of our prayers, a lot of people have fear-based prayers. A lot of people deal with God in a fear-based capacity. So while I agree with you, that's of course if we're praying properly. And like I said, praying is a functional tool that, in my opinion, creates that interaction between you and Allah. Regional Sky Girl says, that reminds me of, if I am sad about something, I will allow myself a certain period of time to cry about it. And when that time is up, that's it. Time to stop crying. Amen. That's right, Regional Sky Girl. And shout out to you, sis. Thank you for jumping on some of these other podcasts that I was doing throughout the week. I really appreciate you. But you're right. Yeah. Sometimes I do the same thing. I say, all right, enough is enough. I don't have no problem with crying over something. I'm okay with that. I'm not shame. Ain't no shame to my game. I'll cry whether it's in front of you or anybody else or to myself. And then I go, all right, that's it. Because for me, once I come out on the other side of that cry, I'm usually in beast mode. So for me, I'm highly spiritual person, but I got a little gangster inside of me. She sits right behind this chair. And as long as spiritual me is doing the right thing, she don't have to come out. She get to just chill and sit back there and eat grapes and bonbons. But if I don't handle things properly spiritually, then she knows when to raise up and come out. So with the tears, what you're doing oftentimes is you're giving yourself that relief. You're allowing yourself to acknowledge your emotions and how you feel. And you go, all right, now it's time to move on. Let's go. Sometimes you revisit that cycle, but each time you just got to go, let me just keep going. All right, family. Any other questions, comments? I thought that chapter, I was flying through that because I was worried that doing those 2 chapters was going to be too much. We'll do chapter 15 next week. Ways to cultivate a mental attitude leading to peace and happiness. We'll dig into that. All right, family. Any questions? Any comments? James Camouflage said Allah is the greatest. Absolutely. 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 So I want to encourage us to take this Saturday, just be intentionally happy. And so this is what I do. I'm somewhat advanced in this because I've been practicing this for a while. But if I get stuck with certain subjects where I find myself basing my happiness on accomplishment or a possession, then I stay in my appreciation phase. And so even starting with, I'm just appreciative to even have this dream or this desire. And I start off like that because Allah, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be in a position to even think that I can do something like this, even desire that I can do something like this. So I start there, very general and very basic. And then sometimes I just have to sit there because a lot of times when you go right into possession or right into ownership, you create some friction that's going to mess your vibration up. So, for example, let's say you say, I want this new job. And you say, I'm going to be happy when I get the new job. Well, your subconscious mind knows you don't have the job already. So you're messing up your vibration right there, because what you want is to be practicing the emotion that you're going to have when you get the new job. So you want to feel it. You want to be able to close your eyes and walk into that new company. You want to be able to think about what it feels like, what it smells like, what the sensations are going to be in your body, how you're going to move when you get that new job. You're going to want to feel all of that. And in feeling that, now you're putting yourself there, and all you have to do is just keep walking into that feeling, because now you're going to activate things around you that are going to match up with that feeling. But if you're constantly focusing on, got to get it, got to get it, got to get it, I want it, I got to have it now, got to have it by this date, da 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 da. You keep doing that, well, you're going to just keep pushing that thing further and further away from you, because what you're really focused on when you're doing that is not on having it, but you're really focused on not having it. So what your brain is doing is practicing not having it. Got to get it, got to get it. Oh, Lord, please, Lord Jesus, help me. Just keep praying. Well, now you're practicing the fact that you don't have what it is that you want or may very well need. So you want to spend some time, if you need something, whether it's money, whether it's a car, whatever it is that you need, or whatever it is that you want, that new business, that multi-million-dollar business, spend some time sitting with yourself and going literally through the emotions and the feeling of that you know you're going to experience when you have that thing that you say you want so bad. See yourself walking through it. And as you're walking through it and walking to it, what are you feeling like? What's the sensation in your hands? What's your heart feel like? Do you have goosebumps? You got the chills? Are you nervous? Are your ankles shaking? What are you going to feel like when you actually get that thing that you want and or need so badly? And you practice that emotion. And pretty soon you'll be walking right through it in real life, because you're going to keep creating the condition that's going to get you there. All right. Let's see. Brother Ronald said, Fear, Faith, and Truth. Great study material lecture. Oh, yes. Yes. Beautiful. I love that lecture. It's one of my favorites. Brother Victor says, absolutely experience the feeling of the accomplishment while you are chasing it. Yeah. Take away the mindset and the energy of the chasing. Because chasing, you just keep chasing it. It'll just keep running, and you're going to keep running after it. So stop for a minute and have that emotional feeling that as if you've already caught it, right? That's what you want to do. Almost like if you in the wild and you need to catch your dinner, then maybe you need to sit down and taste the dinner. So I do an exercise where I think about what it's going to take. What's the taste of success? Even for example, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, blessed to have a conversation with the minister, and I was telling him that I've already know how I'm going to feel when I walk him through the completed project. I know what that's going to taste like already because I've tasted it. And I play that over and over. You all heard me talk about that Jesus within, like when I would be busy and away and not able to reach out to the minister, and I knew I wanted to talk to him. I think about, what's it feel like when I have those conversations with him? There's a nervousness, there's an excitedness, but then there's that beautiful elation, that taste of success of just having him to have that conversation with you or whatever. So feeling that, going through your senses, what's it going to smell like? What's it going to taste like? Right? What are you going to feel like? How are your feet going to hit the ground when you walk into your new situation? What's the bottoms of your feet going to feel like? What are your hands going to feel like as you open the door? I remember my nephew was getting a new apartment, and I told him, I said, I want you to feel yourself with that key going into your new apartment. And I remember videotaping him as he put the key in the door, and I could just kind of see in his energy that he was walking through that feeling that he already had practiced. Okay. All right. So we're going to go sound advice, sister. I'm in the process of seeking a new job now. That was right on time. That's right, Brother Damien X. Make sure that you are feeling. What's it going to feel like, Brother Damien, when you get that new job? How are you going to feel? How is your heart going to feel? How is your mind going to feel? How is your central nervous system going to feel? Are you going to feel a little more calm? Are you going to feel a little more certain? Are you going to feel a little bit more confident? Are you going to feel a little bit more happy? Are some of the fears that you have going to start to lower and dissipate? Are you going to be able to not worry? Sit and feel that. What's it going to feel like when you walk in and you shake the person's hand with that firmness because you know you're on your way? That next job might not be the end all be all. It might just be the stepping stone to get you where you're going. But how is that going to feel knowing that you made a move and that's the next step in your process to get you to your goals? So sit with that. I see you on your emoji. Looks like you're in the car. Sit with that in the car. How's it going to feel when you driving to your new job? Whether you're on the train or on the bus, how's it going to feel? How you going to erect your body? You going to sit there? You going to still be slumped over like, oh, I'm going to my new job? Or are you going to be like, bam, I'm going to my new job. This is my next step. How are you going to feel? What's the tension in your body going to be like? And practice that feeling over and over and over and over again. What's that new gig feel like? What's it smell like? What are you seeing? How's your face going to feel? Is it going to just be some relief? Your blood pressure going to go down. Your nerves going to settle down. Feel that and spend time there. You need to do that 20 times a day if you have to. Keep practicing that feeling. And then pretty soon you'll be walking right into it. All right. All praises due to Allah, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us today. It is time to go. Make sure you please support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. I have put in here, if you want to know how to donate, go to support.sajdahhouse.com. There's all the different ways that you can donate. You all know to support, you can always Cash App, $ Sajdah Enterprises. We are having a 24% discount on all the items on the sajdahhouse.com page. And we just ask you to continue to support. Y'all know I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be relentless, and I'm going to be determined, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, they never give up on us. They give their whole lives. And so we're going to just keep going. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pressing. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep doing whatever it is we got to do to make sure that we can get this and all of our other projects done. So, all right, family, with that, have a happy Saturday. And I want you all to be intentionally happy today. Peace and blessings.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible